If you've ever been to the airport, you know that you should expect everything to be more expensive than what it actually is. A bottle of water might cost you $5, and we have been trained to think that that is perfectly okay. To describe the cost of living in New York, I would say is like taking airport prices and then spreading it all over the city. Everything is more expensive than what it actually should be. I'm back with another one. It's your boy World Wild West, and I am doing a cost of living video for perhaps the most famous city in the world, the most iconic city in the world, whatever you want to say it. This is New York City, cost of living. Let's get right into it. So I know y'all are excited to see the entire video, but most people will be particularly excited to see the rent. So yes, I am staying in this spot that you see right behind me. And guys, this is a really nice apartment. This is actually a basement, and I'm living in a brownstone building that's actually 2 floors. So this is just 1 floor of the entire building. The owners rent out the basement to make money, and they rent it out to people like myself. For 1 month in this apartment, it cost about 3,400 USD. Now, I was lucky enough to be able to split this with my girlfriend, so I did not pay 3,400 USD personally, but in total to rent out this apartment, it cost 3,400 USD. This is definitely the most expensive thing that I spent money on during my time in New York, but where you live at is really important, and this is a really nice spot. And it's in the Brooklyn area, which is close, or at least kind of close to the action here in New York. Now, for my people that are actually considering moving to New York for more than a month, long term, I actually did a video where I went around and talked to different New Yorkers, asked them 4 questions, and then I guessed how much rent they actually paid. These were authentic conversations, and you could probably get a lot of gain from it. So the link will be somewhere in this video. Check that out if you want to. As expensive as New York is, I will say one thing that surprised me was the transportation. Transportation here, depending on how you do it, can really be less than $200 a month, and that could be a stretch. So the subway does have really affordable programs for the riders of New York, and they have a monthly subway card that you can get that's $127, and that breaks down to like $33.25 a week. Imagine you can get to virtually anywhere in the city the entire week for $33. So for me, I actually did get the monthly pass, and that was $127. And again, guys, the subway plugs you in. This subway system has the most stops out of any subway system in the entire world. So you literally have access to the entire city through this subway system. Just know though, a lot of times if you want to get from Brooklyn to Manhattan, or Brooklyn to Harlem or Queens or something like that, it does take a long time. So while it is affordable, the downside that you get with that is it's gonna take you an hour and a half. No getting around it. That's just what it is if you have the subway system. If your money's a little bit longer, or you somebody that's just a little bit more reckless, whatever, I ain't here to judge. You definitely have Ubers and taxis that are an option for your time in New York. I actually only took an Uber twice. The first time was because I partied way too late. That one was about 35 bucks. And then my niece came to visit me in New York, and I did not have time to get her back to the airport. To go from Manhattan to the airport cost me about $75. So you guys can see the range of these Ubers. Generally, I've seen Ubers go anywhere from $30 to about $150. Now, when it comes to activities, New York really does have something for everybody. If I wanted to just have a day in New York where I prepaid my subway card and I didn't want to spend any money the entire day on activities, you can definitely do that and do some of the most amazing activities that you ever could have thought of. So what I want to do for the activity section is I want to break this down into free activities, cheaper activities, and then expensive activities. I'm gonna tell you guys what I did personally, what I paid for. While New York is super expensive, to me their most iconic activity is actually free, and that is going to Times Square. Times Square, obviously we've seen it in the movies and the pictures on Instagram. Tons of screens out there. You can walk around, chill, kick it with your people. There's also a ton of street performers out there. So if you are interested in watching some street performers, usually like they're jumping over somebody or doing some comedy or something like that, you can go out there. Of course, they expect tips, but that isn't mandatory. You definitely should tip them though. I won't go in depth into all the free activities, but I will tell you my top favorites. The Brooklyn Bridge was amazing to walk across and see the skyline. Central Park is absolutely gorgeous. It's in the middle of Manhattan, and there's a ton of people watching to do if you're interested in that. The New York Public Library is literally gorgeous. It feels like you're actually a student in Harvard, Cornell, Yale, whatever university you want to imagine in your head. It's absolutely free to go study. Right now, I am unemployed, so a lot of my mornings I would get up, go down there to the New York Public Library and spend a lot of times looking for a job or reading or something like that. And then lastly, as cliche as it sounds, walk around. Look, New York really does have places where you'll look to the left and be like, wow, I can't believe that's there. Or wow, this is what I saw on TV, especially in Manhattan. So maybe not even in the Queens, no offense, the Brooklyns, no offense, the other boroughs, but in Manhattan specifically, I would definitely say walk around, because you'll never really see all the attractions that are in Manhattan or all the iconic buildings that are in Manhattan. Now, when it comes to activities that are kind of on the cheaper side, one of the most fun activities that I did in New York definitely had to be the Apollo Theater. I have heard about this theater my entire life. Shout out my pops. He gave me a suggestion and I went for amateur night at the Apollo. To be honest with you, I did boo some people for sure. But the artists were insanely talented. They had a 18 and above section and they had like a 18 and below section. All of them were extremely talented. And to be real with you, I'm expecting to see some of them on TV someday. The entire experience cost me about $50. And like I said, couldn't recommend it enough. That's in Harlem and it is the Apollo Theater. Now, when it comes to pricier activities, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do too much stuff outside of buying food, which I'll definitely get to. But the one pricey thing that I did do was go to Broadway. Going to Broadway, I had a chance to see the Hamilton show, which is going crazy over the past few years. And for those tickets, it cost me about $250. But to me, that's one of those things where you're in New York. How do you not go to Broadway? You know, money comes and goes. Moments don't always come and go. So for me, it was worth the money. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little disappointed. A lot of people loved it. For me, it was eh. Now, when we talk about food in New York, honestly, that could be a whole separate video. By far, really the reason why I came to New York is the food. There is so much food here from every single culture you can imagine. And by far my biggest expense was definitely food. If you're coming to New York, expect no matter what place you're in to spend a minimum of $20 per meal. Sometimes you'll go a couple dollars under, but 9 times out of 10, it will minimal be $20. For me and my girlfriend, whenever we went out, I say the average meal was about $120. So generally speaking, you'll spend about $50 to $60 if you want to get a nice meal, a drink, maybe an appetizer. Personally, as far as food goes, I say my favorite place is not the fanciest that you would see. It was a snack shop right around the corner from my house, and these guys had literally whatever you could think of. They had Oreos from Asia. They had weird stuff that you would just never imagine that companies even made. And this was a spot where I went to religiously, probably like 5 or 6 times a week. Again, no matter what kind of food you want, no matter what kind of food you're interested in, definitely come here with the open mind and be willing to try new cultures. Because you can be in New York, but try all the food that a Chinese person would have in China, or in Japan, or in Mexico. Whatever your palate wants, New York does have a great place for that. Generally speaking, there were a couple other expenses that I did spend. Marijuana is 100% legal here. If you watch my channel, I enjoy doing that. So I definitely bought some at one of the shops that they have. And generally that would cost me like 20 to 30 bucks. I did that a couple of times. But besides that, guys, that's pretty much it for the cost of living in New York. Would I do it again? Probably not for this long, but I would come back to New York again for a week or 2 weeks because there's so many activities here to actually choose from and do. And that is a wrap for this cost of living video, New York edition. This is by far the most expensive place I've ever lived in, especially when you talk about doing my cost of living vlogs. So if you've been following, hope you all enjoyed this video. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and be on the lookout because another really dope city is coming next. Until then, peace.